Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you thought poultry farming was, kind of low-tech, think again. Today, we're really digging into the world of modern duck farming. We're moving way beyond just a few ducks in the backyard and looking at it as, well, a serious high-margin business. Our mission is to blend that deep, traditional know-how of managing ducks by hand with the hyper-efficiency of what we're seeing for 2025 automation.
That's spot on. For anyone serious about scaling up and making real profit, precision is it's non-negotiable. We're going through your sources to find those exact protocols, everything from the right genetics, maybe even specific herbal additives, right through to IoT sensors and using data to predict problems. It's not just about keeping ducks alive. It's about driving serious productivity and maybe pushing those profit margins up, 15, even 25%.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the sources seem to paint two pretty different pictures of success. Is it all about that meticulous human touch? Choosing the perfect breed for eggs or meat, rotating the drakes just right? Or is the real game changer found only when you bring in the big guns, like AI watching the flock or those huge conveyor belts moving, 40,000 eggs an hour?
Well, that's the crossroads we're exploring, but before we get to the tech, we have to start with the absolute basics, things that no amount of fancy tech can fix if you mess them up from the start.
Okay, so where do we begin? The foundations.
It starts with purpose.
Yeah.
Simple as that. If you treat all ducks the same, you're already losing potential margin. Your sources really hammer this home. Purpose dictates the breed. Looking for serious egg numbers. Then you need the champions, breeds like Khaki Campbell or Indian Runner. They can lay 250 to maybe 340 eggs a year.
Wow, 340? That's huge output. But what if you're focused on the meat side?
Then it's all about speed and weight gain. You're looking at Pekin, Muscovy, or maybe Rouen. Pekin's the industry workhorse, really. Reaches market weight about 3 to 3.5 kilos in just 7 weeks. Super fast.
7 weeks. That's incredibly quick.
It is. But that kind of rapid growth absolutely demands precise housing. Get that wrong, and you risk losing a lot of birds to stress or disease.
And I noticed the housing needs are quite different depending on if they're layers or meat ducks. Seems like an easy trap to fall into during planning.
Oh, it definitely is. You're laying ducks, they need more space for their long-term well-being and output. Think 2.7 square feet inside, 6 square feet outside per bird. Meat ducks need a bit less indoors, maybe 1 square foot minimum, but the flooring. The sources are really clear on this. No coarse wire, no slats. You need dry, absorbent bedding. If you cut corners on space or the floor, well, you're compromising the whole setup.
Makes sense. And what about the biggest headache with ducks? The water, the mess?
Ah, yes, the wet litter nemesis, as some call it. It's a constant battle, the golden rule. They need constant access to clean water, absolutely. But, and this is crucial, keep that water outside the shelter.
Not tight, okay.
Yeah, you're basically managing moisture above all else. Keeping the water source outside minimizes soaked bedding inside, which stops that huge ammonia buildup and protects their respiratory health. It's critical.
Okay, so housing is sorted. Let's shift to genetics. It sounds like it's not just about having lots of ducks, but the right ducks managed properly.
Exactly. Breeding needs precision, too. We're talking specific mating ratios, usually 1 drake for every 4 to 6 hens. But the real long-term strategy for genetic health, it's about vigor. You absolutely have to rotate your drakes, bring in new ones every 3 or 4 years.
You avoid inbreeding, right?
Precisely. To avoid inbreeding depression, that's when the genetic vitality drops off, leading to weaker birds, lower yields. It's a silent killer of productivity over time.
Got it. And then there's incubation. Sounds like it requires almost lab-like conditions. 37.5 Celsius is exact. But that humidity change, that caught my eye.
Yeah, that detail can make or break a hatch. You start incubation at 55 to 60% relative humidity. But for the last 3 days, you bump it up to 65%. It just helps ease the ducklings out of the shell.
And turning the eggs, too.
Oh, constantly. At least 4 times a day, whether you do it by hand or machine. It's all about precision, every single step.
That level of detail carries right over into nutrition, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
How critical is getting the feed phases right?
It's absolutely vital. Feed is typically the biggest variable cost on the farm, so the sources insist. You need purpose-specific feeding phases. Ducklings get a high-protein starter feed, like 20-22% protein. Layers then switch to a layer feed, maybe 16-18% protein, but that one needs high calcium. That's specifically for strong eggshells.
Right, makes sense for layers. And what about those little extras, things beyond the main feed?
Good point. Yeah, beyond the formulated feed, you need to offer grit. Specifically, insoluble grit, tiny stuff, 1-2 millimeters, and also oyster shell grit separately. The insoluble grit helps them grind feed in their gizzard, and the oyster shell provides that extra calcium boost for eggshell quality in the layers.
Okay, and this is where I saw some really interesting innovation in the traditional approach using herbs.
Yes, that's a growing trend, incorporating certain herbal extracts right into the feed. Things like garlic, oregano, or thyme. The dosage is small, maybe zero point 0.5 to 1 gram per kilogram of feed. But the idea isn't just, flavor, it's about boosting their natural immunity. This could potentially reduce the need for antibiotics, which are costly and facing more restrictions. It's like precision natural management.
Interesting. Okay, let's transition now. We've got the birds housed, fed, bred right. What about keeping them healthy long-term and managing the farm sustainably?
Right? Proactive health monitoring. The best defense is catching problems before they become full-blown disease outbreaks. And interestingly, the sources suggest this starts not with a fancy sensor, but with, well, people, your staff on the ground.
You mean training staff to spot subtle signs, like ducks not preening as much or a slight head shake? But hang on, if you're aiming for those high-profit margins, how reliable is scaling up based on human observation? Isn't that a potential bottleneck?
That's actually a key tension we see in the sources. Even on high-tech farms, there's this reliance on skilled human observation, that potential 25% productivity boost from staff training. It comes because their eyes are your first alert system. They can spot things like listlessness or a duck going off its feed hours, maybe even days before it shows up as a clinical sign you can measure.
Ah, okay, so it's like an indispensable early warning. But you need backups, surely. Formal testing.
Absolutely. That's the next layer. Regular checks, like quarterly fecal screenings, are pretty much standard. This helps you time your deworming schedules effectively and spot any rising bacterial issues early on. And for the big threats like avian influenza, farms really need rapid diagnostic kits on site. When disaster looms, you need answers the same day to have any chance of controlling it.
Makes sense. And the biosecurity basics still apply.
Oh, totally non-negotiable. Regular vaccinations for common diseases like duck plague and cholera. And a strict, mandatory 2-week quarantine for any new birds before they join the main flock. No exceptions.
Okay, let's circle back to water for a second. Because managing that moisture seems so central to health. How do these successful large-scale farms handle that paradox? The bird needs water but constantly makes its environment wet and messy.
Yeah, it requires smart environmental design. You engineer specific bathing areas. Think shallow paddocks or troughs that are designed to drain constantly. Critically, these are separate from the main living and feeding areas. This lets the ducks do their natural bathing thing, which is important for their stress levels, without soaking all the bedding inside the house. It's a neat solution to a messy reality.
Clever. And thinking longer term, climate change must be a factor. What are farms doing to build resilience?
Adaptation is definitely key. In hotter areas, you see things like shade cloths going up, misting systems being installed to fight heat stress. In cooler places, especially with vulnerable ducklings, it's about effective brood heating, like using heating plates and just being meticulous about sealing up drafts.
And finally, in this section, the sources touched on sustainable integration, turning waste into value.
Yeah, this is about creating a more circular system. Instead of duck manure being just a disposal problem, you manage it as a nutrient resource. Composting it properly, usually mixed with high-carbon stuff like straw, is key. It reduces ammonia loss and kills pathogens before you apply it to fields. But even better is direct integration. Using ducks in rice paddies, they eat weeds, fertilize naturally, or letting them forage in orchards to help with pest control. The ducks actually become part of the farm management system.
Okay, so we've built this solid foundation of precision management. Now let's pivot to the big question, scaling the profit. Your sources seem to lay out two pretty distinct routes here. Path A is more traditional, focusing on market differentiation, value-added products.
Exactly. Path A is about finding and capturing a premium niche. You market your ducks based on how they're raised, maybe free-range, organic, heritage breed status. You avoid the commodity trap by offering something special. Could be unique products like those tiny mini duck eggs or processed items like smoked duck breast.
So the farm itself adds the value. Processing on-site, making duck sausages, maybe pâtés, confit. That really boosts the price you get per bird.
Right. But Path A has its limits, or rather constraints. The main one is maintaining management quality as you grow. The sources warn against expanding too fast. They suggest phasing growth, maybe no more than 20% flock increase per year, just to ensure standards don't slip. And the financial targets are still demanding. You need high lay rates, like 80% or more, and a really good FCR for your meat ducks.
Okay, wait, let's just clarify FCR for everyone listening. We keep mentioning it. What does it stand for, and what's the target here?
Good point. FCR is feed conversion ratio. Basically, it's how much feed, measured in kilograms, it takes to produce 1 kilogram of product, either meat or eggs. For Path A, that traditional route, the target for meat ducks is an FCR less than or equal to 2.5. So 2.5 kilos of feed or less for every kilo of weight gain.
Okay, 2.5, got it.
But Path B, the automation approach,
Yeah.
it aims to blow that number away.
Right. Path B, maximizing the return on investment through what you call 2025 automation. It pushes that FCR target way down, aiming for like 1.6 to 2.0. That difference sounds massive when you scale up.
Oh, it is. Automation isn't just about saving time. It's a huge financial tool. It can cut labor costs by 30, maybe 40%. But the real kicker is optimizing feed use. Automated systems, chain feeders, sensor-based feeders, they can cut feed waste by up to 15%. On a large farm, that's potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars saved just on feed, which is usually your single biggest expense.
And it solves other headaches too, right? Like egg collection.
Totally transforms it. We're talking conveyor belts moving potentially 40,000 eggs an hour. And the key is using systems like vertical collection. It minimizes handling, which drastically cuts down on cracked or broken eggs, maybe getting breakage rates under 2%. That's a direct boost to your saleable product.
Wow. And what about the manure? Path A composted, but Path B?
Path B takes it a step further. Yes, you have automated scrapers and belts cleaning with over 95% efficiency. But the really smart move, the 2025 approach, is converting that fresh manure into biogas. That creates a whole new revenue stream. Waste management shifts from being a cost center to an actual asset. That's a big part of the ROI calculation for automation.
Okay, but the truly futuristic part of Path B seems to be the predictive analytics. This isn't just timers turning feeders on and off.
No, not at all. We're talking really sophisticated early warning systems now. You've got computer vision systems, basically AI cameras watching the flock 24/7, analyzing behavior, looking for anything unusual that might signal stress or sickness.
Yeah.
You can even have wearable sensors on individual ducks, tracking activity, temperature. This whole IoT layer gives you real predictive power. It can potentially flag the start of a disease outbreak hours, maybe days, before a person or a scheduled test would catch it.
That sounds expensive up front, though.
Right.
For a farmer thinking about margins, what's the payback? How fast does this level of tech investment actually start making money?
That's always the million-dollar question, isn't it? The sources do confirm, yes, the initial investment is significant, but the payback period is surprisingly quick, often just 2 to 3 years. And that rapid return is often driven just by the labor savings alone, estimated around $15,000 to $25,000 per year for every 1,000 ducks. So once you reach a certain scale, the financial argument for automation becomes very, very compelling. So wrapping up, whether you choose that more traditional, deeply integrated path focusing on niche markets and value-added products, or you go full high-tech with IoT and AI, the common thread for profitability is relentless precision and data. Doesn't matter if you're tracking it in a notebook or with a network of sensors. Hitting those key performance indicators, like that target of 250 to 300 eggs per duck per year, demands constant vigilance and measurement.
Yeah, it's clear that modern duck farming, at scale, really leans heavily on technology and some pretty complex financial metrics. But what's fascinating is, even when we talk about Path B with all its automation, labor savings, and improved FCR, the sources keep coming back to the human element as being incredibly critical. The success of that multi-thousand, maybe million-dollar automation system, it seems completely tied to having staff who are expertly trained. And remember, that training alone was credited with maybe a 25% productivity boost potential. So here's a thought to leave you with. If that cutting-edge automation only truly delivers ROI when the people running it are sharp, what percentage of your total investment, that precious capital, should really be allocated not just to the shiny new machine, but to honing the mind operating it? Something to chew on as you think about leveraging tech in your own ventures.
And that wraps up today's episode of the Definitive Duck Farming Guide, your ultimate roadmap to raising healthy, productive, and profitable flocks in the modern era. From precision breeding and welfare-focused management to the latest in automation, we've explored how technology is reshaping duck farming from the ground up. Whether you're a first-time farmer just getting your feet wet or a seasoned producer looking to optimize and sustainability, these insights bring together the best of both tradition and innovation. Our discussion today drew from 3 key sources: advanced management techniques for modern duck farming, detailing strategies to enhance productivity, welfare, and market differentiation, automation and financial optimization in poultry production, exploring how smart systems reduce costs and boost efficiency. Essential Foundations of Duck Farming, a practical guide for beginners covering breeds, housing, feeding, and biosecurity. Together, they paint a complete picture of what it takes to thrive in the next generation of duck farming, where technology meets tradition and sustainability drive success. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and join us next time as we dive deeper into innovations transforming modern agriculture. Until then, keep your ducks in a row and your goals in flight.